amounts recorded in the general ledger. So the major functions in the purchasing cycle or acquisition and expenditure cycle is obviously requisitions, which I talked about already. The user departments issue requisitions. You want to see controls over requisitions because not everyone in the user department should have the ability to requisition goods. Because when you're requisitioning goods and you're sending this to the purchasing department, you're essentially committing the company's funds. Purchasing department is separate, a separate department that is responsible for handling all of the purchases for the company, so that the purchasing department would be responsible for performing competitive bids, ensuring that purchases are made in accordance with the company's standards, ensuring that they're purchasing from authorized vendors. Some controls that you expect to see with purchasing is that function, people in that group are rotated so that I'm not always assigned to the same vendor, right? That the responsibilities are rotated. And why do you think that is? Why does it matter that you rotate vendors and purchasing managers? Why does it matter? Jimmy? Yeah, you could have a second pair of eyes. Hindsight, what else? What is management trying to prevent from happening? By switching up vendors, switching up purchasing agents and vendors. Fraud, right. So fictitious purchases, fraud. Because what they're trying to do is make sure or mitigate the chances that a relationship will develop where the purchasing agent is getting kickbacks from the vendor, because if you're required to do competitive bids, you want to make sure that that purchasing agent is actually performing competitive bids, right? Or obtaining competitive bids, I should say. And then what happens if I'm with this vendor and the vendor says to me, look, just tell me what the bids are, I'll always come in lowest, right? I'll always come in at the lowest, and if I can't come in at the lowest, you still give me the business, right? So they want to try to avoid those types of relationships occurring. Companies, companies will always have policies, purchasing policies, so that purchase agents aren't allowed to take gifts from vendors. Some of them will say it has to be, below some monetary value, because people will send over the holidays fruit baskets and things like that. So it has to be below some monetary values because they want to make sure that their purchasing agent isn't throwing the company's business at vendors and then getting some feedback, monetary value back for that. So you'll see things like rotating purchasing agents. The receiving obviously receives the goods and make sure that the purchase was the goods that they're receiving, that they were authorized, and also making sure that they're accurate. So if we ordered 50 gallons of paint, that we receive 50 gallons of paint and not 500 gallons of paint. When goods are received, the accounts payable department should be notified, or the accounting department should be notified, and so that invoices can be processed. And this is important, right? Because we're going to get a vendor invoice. We want to make sure that the receiving report, that vendor that's billing us, that we actually receive the goods. So there should be a matching of the receiving report and the vendor invoice. Disbursements, when we disperse, a company disperses, you want to make sure the three things I talked about are present. Purchase order, which is the commitment, that it's an authorized commitment to purchase, the receiving report to indicate that we actually received the goods, and the vendor invoice to show that we've been billed for it. Then accounts payable and general ledger in terms of